Hi, I'm here with Tom Meyer. Tom Meyer is a real estate attorney that I use for many of my real estate deals, contracts, closings. And I'm sure, I shouldn't say I'm sure, I see him in the office all the time. He's working with a lot of the real estate agents in my office, and also many of the real estate agents in the area. I'm sure the greater Chicago area, even though your office is in Lake Bluff,
Correct, yes.
but he's pretty widespread. I've been in real estate closings with him, not only in the office, not only in this area, but geez, all the way down to Chicago as well. I thought I would grab Tom real quick, just ask him a couple questions, some things that I think are valuable to a seller or a buyer. Tom, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
First question is, what are maybe 2 or 3 things that a seller should be aware of once we have a contract? So we look at houses, we get a contract, and now we get an attorney such as yourself involved.
Okay. Probably the most important thing for a seller to realize is that they've got to look at the big picture. They now have a contract in hand, which is very valuable. They're going to have a buyer who is going to make certain requests of them as the process goes on. Many sellers feel that, well, we've had a negotiation, we've reached this point, and we're not going to do anything further. Frankly, it's just not realistic. Sellers have to realize that this buyer is coming in with certain expectations, and those expectations include if there's some material defects in the house, we expect the seller to address those defects. Whereas many sellers come in and say, well, I've negotiated down to my last dime, and that's as far as I'm going to go on that. So basically, keep an open mind, look at the big picture, understand that it's very important. You may not get another opportunity for a long time with another buyer, and that if the house sits on the market for a while, you're going to be losing money while that house sits there. So treat each buyer with respect and understand that they're coming from a different position than you are.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. I see that a lot where sometimes people will dig in their heels when we're going back and forth with with maybe the requests for inspection. Sometimes hurting themselves along the way.
Well, definitely hurt themselves, and many times the transaction will implode as a result of that, and then they're sitting there for 6 months waiting for another transaction to occur. So I think, again, big picture, always think in those terms. Always make sure that you rely on the advice of your realtor and your attorney, because they've been there before many, many times and might see it a little differently than you do.
Yeah. What about the buyer? Again, I'm out with a buyer. We're looking at houses. We're out for a few weekends, and then they love a house. We get it under contract. Again, I get that contract over to the attorney, such as yourself. What are some things the buyer should keep in mind?
From a buyer's standpoint, it's very important to have realistic expectations of what the transaction is going to look like, what you might expect a seller to be willing to negotiate on after you've reached that purchase price that you've agreed upon. Especially through inspection issues. This is always one of the more difficult portions of the contract. If you think the negotiating the price is hard, sometimes the toilet that moves and the leaky faucet and things like that tend to be more emotionally charged than the actual purchase price. So I always caution my buyers when they go through the inspection. The inspector is hired, and his job or her job is to go and find everything possible that they can find wrong with this house. And even many things that they're not sure of, but they say check it out further. That doesn't mean that the house is falling down. I have seen gorgeous houses that are in terrific shape with inspection reports that go 70 pages. And people look at this and they go, oh, as a buyer, I can't buy a house with this many things wrong with the house. But realistically, your seller's been living in this house many, many years without any problems. And of course, your seller's going to look at it that way. Kind of, well, I've never had an issue with this particular thing. My furnace is fine. I had it inspected last year. So as a buyer, let's be realistic on what you're asking for. Understand that this seller's coming from a different place than you are. They've been in the house, this is their house, they're emotionally tied to it.
Right.
You see it more as a negotiation, the seller sees it more as, hey, you're finding fault with my house. So I think, again, a little bit of respect on both sides goes a long way, and also the understanding that what you may see as important in that inspection may not be as important to the seller.
Right, right.
And then the second thing probably would be, again, always listen to the advice of your realtor, your attorney, even your home inspector, because what's written on the paper may not really be what he's saying. He may look at it and say, well, if it were me, I wouldn't worry about it. So you need to go dig a little deeper sometimes and not just take everything at face value.
Sure, yeah, great advice. What I like to tell, whether I'm on the buy, if I'm assisting a buyer or a seller, is that try to keep emotion out of it. It is a business transaction. Sometimes what might not feel like the best thing for you is the best thing for you.
Right.
Also, I feel like it is a seller's responsibility. They don't have to, but it's your seller's responsibility to give a healthy home to the buyer.
Correct.
So
Correct.
if there's a long laundry list of things that they're asking for, what are the things that are going to give a healthy home to the buyer?
Right.
Such as gas leaks or water leaks and things like
And
that.
I advise both buyers and sellers, when you look at that laundry list of things that are on the inspection report, circle the ones that are actual hazards.
Right.
Hazardous defects. Anytime there's an electrical issue, no matter how small, that can turn into a fire. So yeah, you want to address it, you want to take care of it. Obvious defects such as radon or asbestos or lead pipes or something like that could create a problem. You do not want to be the person that gave a health problem to somebody else. So no, as a seller you take care of it. As a buyer you should raise it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, thanks, Tom.
Well, thank you, Mike. Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks for coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Tom Meyer, see him in the office all the time. I thought I would grab him this one time. And he's up in Lake Bluff, tom@tfmeyer.com. But again, he works all over the greater Chicago area. I've been in many closings with him all over, the North Shore, north of the North Shore, down in Chicago, everywhere. But you can contact him directly, contact me. I always know how to get a hold of him. And thanks again for coming in.
Thank you, Mike.